The dead bodies ever sit up. Somebody says, my uncle Billy Bob's best friend once told me he was at a funeral and they sat up in their casket, and that's probably one of the top 3 questions every funeral director is asked. They don't. I'm just letting you know that they don't, not even immediately after death. I think that if morticians were free to like actually tell you all the details, all the juicy things that go on in funeral service, I don't think you'd believe it. You'd think we were lying. I think you'd sooner believe that the bodies actually sat up in the casket, because sometimes it's insane. So I'll tell you a quick story, and of course I'm changing details because, of course. But a few years ago, my partner and I had a call. It was an evening time call, and it's out in the middle of nowhere like they usually are. The coroner calls it in, and it's unexpected, but based on his medical history, you know, they decide it's natural. He doesn't need an autopsy, so they call the funeral home. That's us. And we drive to the middle of nowhere, and it's beautiful. Beautiful home, stunning setting, like gorgeous. While my partner's doing a few things in the van, I decide that I'm going to go on up and I'm going to introduce myself, so we're not just these strangers sitting in the driveway, and get to the front door of this beautiful home, and I knock on the door, and the sweetest, tiniest little woman opens the door, and you can see she's heartbroken, but she's been laughing, and I just wanted to hug her. So I did. She opens the door, and as soon as I step through the door, she says, "Watch out for Frank." What? And I follow where she's looking, and there's Frank. There's Frank on the floor. And he's got a pillow under his head and a blanket pulled up to his chin. But he's right there in front of the front door on the floor, right next to the kitchen table, which is also right in front of the front door. And I look up, and all of these people are sitting around the kitchen table, and there's plates and food and wine. And I just act like there's absolutely nothing abnormal about this. I ask them if they have questions. I tell them who I am, what's going to happen. And then I ask for permission to go out and get our transfer bed. Are you ready for us to go ahead and bring him into our care? And they say, yes, of course. So it turns out he hadn't been there just for a few hours. He had been there since 7 that morning. And they wanted to make him comfortable, so they put the pillow under him and the blanket. And they got hungry because it'd been all day. And they decided that they wanted to have one last meal with Grandpa Frank. And they wanted to tell stories and have a drink while they did it. By that point, I totally understand. I get it. I wanted to sit down with them and have a meal and hear stories about Grandpa Frank too. And I probably would have let them, but they were like, no, you have a job to do. You're way out here. You know, go ahead and do what you need to do. And so I did. I don't think people truly realize how bizarre the lives of people in funeral service actually are. And I don't think that a lot of the time we even really consider it, because it's just normal to us. It's normal. We get a call that somebody died in the middle of the night, and we're up throwing our clothes on and rushing to the funeral home to get our removal vehicle, driving out to Timbuktu to meet people we've never met, ever, in the worst time of their lives. And it's wild. We see a lot of things. So if you are considering funeral service, know that this is part of the job, huge part of it. Know that no 2 days will ever be the same, and you truly have no idea where you're going to end up in the next 15 minutes.